It's 7:35 on Memphis Morning News, and checking back with us on as we get back ready for our work week is workplace culture expert and friend of the program, Dr. Daren Martin. Dr. Daren, always great to have you on the show. How you doing?
I'm great. Love being on your show.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about employees and trust in management. A recent survey says that number's not so high.
It's very low, in fact, and this is a big problem because it's often been said that people don't leave jobs or companies, they leave bosses, and this study is just indicating a big chunk of why. There's just a real lack of trust for people that are immediately over other people. And I think that's something that a company could easily address, but they're not likely to because management thinks, oh, yeah, they trust us. We're doing a great job in the survey, and there's just a completely different perspective from the people that are answering the questions.
Daren, what did the respondents say were amongst their biggest reasons for leaving a job, or just the general distrust?
Belittling me, taking credit for my work, not doing what you say you're going to do, micromanaging, not following through. I mean, there's just lots of little gaps. Now, in fairness to the managers, the study also showed that we are throwing them into these positions where they're expected to lead people, and for the most part, giving them little or no training in how to do that. We wouldn't put somebody over a big, huge piece of equipment and say, oh, go run it and try to figure it out as you go. We would do training. But a lot of managers are not getting training, and so they're just relying on their instincts, and that's leaving too much to chance.
And by the time a lot of managers who may develop into great managers get it, they may have lost a lot of good folks along the way.
Absolutely, which is a huge cost to a company because it takes a lot of money to recruit and get people in the company, and then you want to keep them. The best way to keep them is have leaders that they love. I mean, bad bosses is bad business. And yet we see it just, all over the place. I was at a company once where one of the lead people had what I called management by yelling and screaming obscenities at people. He would say things like, go put a boot on their neck. And is it any wonder that he had all these little pit bulls running around, doing his bidding? And somebody out in the place told me, Daren, that leader, there isn't a person out here that would do a blank thing for that guy. And I thought, wow, that's not what you want at a company.
Which, it's interesting you say that because I believe in that survey or a similar survey, it's almost inverse where 4 in 5 managers consider themselves to be trustworthy and approachable.
Absolutely. So that's the delusion, right? And that is very quickly solved by a heart-to-heart conversation. But if you don't think you have a problem, you're not going to work to improve it.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed this firsthand when I go into companies and I talk to managers. They say, oh, things are going great. And then I go talk to people that are working for them or with them, and they're saying the exact opposite. And that's a huge issue. So we've got to close that gap. I think companies can get this part right, but they've got to focus a lot more on what they want in their management team and then training to make sure they get it. And then if people aren't cooperating or they don't fit that mold, they got to eject them because otherwise they end up losing too many people.
Dr. Daren Martin joining us on Memphis Morning News. Daren, for someone in the worker position in this relationship and not in the management part, it seems like there'd be a very fine line on any kind of change. Is there anything that a worker can do to help in this equation?
Absolutely, and I think it starts with the conversation in reverse. You go sit down and say, look, I'd like to talk about my performance and what I'm doing and not doing that you'd like to see me change. And I just want to share with you that I'm having difficulty in these areas, and I want to give you my best. Can we talk about these and see if there are some ways we can address them? Because bosses are people, too, and they've got their own issues and their own struggles. They want to do well. And I think a lot of times a lot could be solved by just being honest about what you're feeling and what you're seeing going on.
That's a great idea, and you bring in the aspect that the manager has her or his own problems, and there could be scenarios where that boss that you think, or from your perspective, is just awful or is not very responsive to you could have a boss of their own that is treating them that way, and the domino effect happens.
That happens all the time, and we don't know that the pressures other people are dealing with. And then sometimes it's on a larger scale. It's the company that at levels is saying we need to get those numbers up without any regard for what kind of impact is that going to have on the people, and how do we frame that so that people are working with us and not against us. So communication, come on, in any relationship is always the starting place for driving solutions. And I think we need to have healthier conversations between everybody at work, but certainly with your manager.
Hey, Daren, thank you so much for joining us. It's Daren Martin. Check him out, and hopefully we'll get to catch you again real soon. Sure to appreciate your insight and your time with us this morning.
I always love being on with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Daren.